It's everywhere. A daily craving, a comfort, a reward. But what if this innocent-looking crystal holds secrets? What if its story isn't just sweet, but stained with ambition, conflict, and unimaginable suffering? For centuries, sugar has been more than just a food. It's been a currency of power, a catalyst for discovery, and a driver of human destiny. From jungle reeds to global empires, its journey is a twisted tale. A force so potent, it reshaped continents, built fortunes, and broke nations. But how did this simple sweetness acquire such monumental power? Today, we count down the most profound, often unsettling, ways sugar fundamentally shaped the world as we know it. Coming in at number 19, we begin our journey where it all started, the lush, humid jungles of New Guinea. For millennia, indigenous peoples here merely chewed on sugarcane stalks, extracting a sweet, refreshing juice. A simple pleasure. An energy boost. They didn't refine it, didn't crystallize it. It was a local secret, a natural gift. But even in its rawest form, this wild reed held a promise. A potential yet unrealized. A hidden power waiting to be unleashed upon a world unaware of its future impact. How did this humble plant escape its island home and begin its relentless march across the globe? At number 18, we move westward, to ancient India. Here, sometime around 500 BC, a profound transformation occurred. Humans learned to boil sugarcane juice. To reduce it. To crystallize it. Granules. Something portable. Something storable. A concentrated sweetness, no longer confined to the stalk. This wasn't just a culinary trick, it was the birth of an industry. The earliest form of refined sugar, known as kanda, emerged. The first step towards a global commodity. A dangerous shift from natural snack to processed ingredient. What unforeseen consequences would arise from this seemingly simple innovation? Number 17 marks sugar's first major journey beyond its origins. The Persian Empire. Around 600 AD, Persian invaders encountered sugarcane in India and carried it west. Not just the plant, but the knowledge of its cultivation and refinement. Sugar became a prized possession, initially reserved for royalty and medicine. It traveled along established trade routes, an exotic luxury, slowly spreading its reach. Each new territory, each new culture, adding a layer to its mystique. But this slow, steady diffusion hinted at a future where sugar would no longer be a curiosity, but a driving force. What kind of power could such a sweet substance hold? At number 16, sugar found its true early champion, the Arab world. During its golden age, from the 8th to 13th centuries, Arab scholars and farmers perfected sugar cultivation and processing. They introduced sophisticated irrigation techniques and built large-scale plantations and refineries across North Africa, Spain, and the Middle East. Sugar wasn't just a luxury, it was a cornerstone of Islamic medicine, science, and cuisine. A symbol of knowledge, sophistication, and imperial power. But with increasing production came increasing demand. A cycle of desire began, one that would soon demand more than just land and water. What price would humanity pay for this growing obsession? Number 15 marks sugar's dramatic entry into Europe. The Crusades. Returning knights, having tasted the exotic sweetness in the Middle East, brought back tales, and often, small quantities of the precious new spice. Initially, it was a rare and expensive commodity, a medicine, a seasoning for the wealthy. Europe, a continent craving new sensations, now had a glimpse of a pleasure previously unknown. This wasn't merely a culinary introduction, it was the spark of an idea. An appetite. A desire for something distant, something exclusive. The seed of a global addiction was planted. But who would cultivate it, and at what cost? In the age of number 14, medieval Europe, sugar solidified its status as an ultimate luxury. A symbol of immense wealth. Only kings, queens, and the highest nobility could afford it, alongside rare spices like saffron and cinnamon. It adorned their banquet tables, a dazzling display. Used sparingly, sometimes sculpted into elaborate subtleties, edible art. But its scarcity fueled its allure. Imagine a world where sweetness was a forbidden fruit, tantalizingly out of reach for most. This exclusivity created an insatiable demand among the powerful, paving the way for something far more sinister. How far would they go to satisfy this craving? Number 13 brings us to a pivotal moment, the age of exploration. Christopher Columbus, on his second voyage in 1493, carried sugarcane cuttings from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean. A seemingly small act. But it was here, in the fertile lands and ideal climate of the New World, that sugar would find its true empire. Vast, untapped territories. Perfect conditions for cultivation. The potential for unparalleled production. This wasn't just planting a crop, it was planting the seeds of an entirely new global economic system. A system built on extraction. A system that would demand an unimaginable price in human lives. The path to global dominance was now clear. At number 12, the plantation system took root. The Caribbean and Brazil, with their vast lands and perfect climate, became the epicenters of sugar production. Giant estates emerged, focused on monoculture, growing only sugar. This required immense, organized labor. But who would perform such grueling work? The indigenous populations, ravaged by disease and brutal exploitation, were decimated. A void. An opportunity for exploitation on an unprecedented scale. This system wasn't just about farming, it was an engine. An engine built on the sweat and suffering of millions, driving a global hunger for sweetness. A hunger that knew no bounds. Number 11. Here lies the darkest chapter, the transatlantic slave trade. The insatiable demand for sugar and the catastrophic labor shortage in the New World led European powers to a horrific solution. Millions of Africans, forcibly uprooted from their homes, were transported across the ocean in unspeakable conditions. Their bodies and lives became the fuel for the sugar mills, working under unimaginable brutality. This wasn't just a side effect of sugar, it was the driving force behind the largest forced migration in human history. Empires were built, fortunes amassed, all on the backs of enslaved people. A legacy of pain still echoes today. Could such sweetness ever truly be enjoyed? At number 10, sugar became the lifeblood of colonial empires. Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, their power and wealth soared. The Caribbean sugar islands, though small, were considered more valuable than vast continental territories. Sugar fueled navies, financed wars, and built grand cities in Europe. It dictated foreign policy and international relations. This wasn't just about trade, it was about global domination. The sweet taste of sugar, once a luxury, now tasted of immense geopolitical power and economic control. But what does such power obscure? What truths are hidden beneath the glittering surface of colonial wealth? Number 9 witnessed sugar's transformation by the Industrial Revolution. New technologies, steam power, and efficient machinery revolutionized processing. Refineries became factories, turning raw sugar into sparkling white granules with unprecedented speed and scale. This wasn't just about quantity, it was about purity. The whiter, the finer, the more desirable. It became a symbol of progress, of modernity. This industrialization made sugar cheaper, more abundant, and accessible to a wider populace than ever before. A sweet torrent, now unleashed. But what happens when an addictive substance becomes infinitely more available? The world was about to find out. At number 8, sugar ceased to be a luxury and became a staple. Its price plummeted. The average person, no longer just the elite, could afford this sweet indulgence. Tea, coffee, and cocoa, once bitter, now became palatable for the masses, especially the burgeoning working class. Sugar provided cheap energy, a quick comfort in the grueling new industrial world. This democratization of sweetness seemed like a triumph. A sign of progress. But this widespread accessibility also meant a dramatic increase in consumption. A subtle shift in human diet, barely noticed at the time. What long-term effects would this widespread addiction have? Number 7 highlights a potent combination: sugar and stimulants. The rise of tea, coffee, and chocolate as mass beverages was inextricably linked to sugar. It made these often bitter drinks not just palatable, but highly desirable. Sugar became the essential partner, transforming morning rituals and social customs. The energy boost from caffeine, coupled with the immediate hit of sugar, created a powerful new dependency. These weren't just drinks, they were cultural phenomena, driving global trade and influencing daily lives. But at what metabolic cost? What unseen changes were brewing within human physiology? At number 6, sugar transformed into a colossal economic catalyst. It fueled global trade networks, shipping industries, and banking. Its cultivation, processing, and distribution created jobs across continents, from plantation workers to refinery owners to merchants. It influenced stock markets, international treaties, and technological advancements in transportation and food preservation. Sugar became a cornerstone of nascent capitalism, demonstrating the immense power of a single commodity to drive an entire global economy. But this economic boom came with hidden costs, deeply embedded in its supply chain. What does a purely profit-driven system truly value? Number 5 saw the explosion of confectionery. With cheap, abundant sugar, a whole new industry blossomed. Sweets, cakes, biscuits, jams, sodas, processed foods became a major part of the Western diet. Food manufacturers discovered sugar's incredible versatility, its ability to enhance flavor, preserve goods, and create appealing textures. This wasn't just about making things sweet, it was about making them irresistible. The food landscape was irrevocably altered, creating a vast array of new products designed for pleasure, not necessarily nutrition. A delicious revolution. But was this an improvement for human well-being? Or a slow, creeping threat disguised as indulgence? At number 4, a new chapter began: the search for alternatives. As early concerns about sugar's effects emerged, science sought to replicate sweetness without the calories. Saccharin, aspartame, sucralose, artificial sweeteners promised guilt-free indulgence. They offered a way to have the taste without the perceived downsides. A technological marvel. A modern solution to an ancient craving. But did these alternatives truly solve the problem, or merely shift it? What are the long-term, unforeseen consequences of decoupling sweetness from its natural source? The sweet puzzle only deepened, adding layers of complexity to our relationship with taste. Number 3 reveals how sugar fundamentally transformed the modern diet. It's not just in obvious sweets, it's hidden everywhere. In breads, sauces, yogurts, dressings. Hidden sugars became ubiquitous, processed foods taking center stage. This stealth inclusion means we consume far more than we realize, often unknowingly. Our palates, once accustomed to natural variations, became rewired. Hypersweetness became the norm, influencing what we find palatable. This isn't just about personal choice anymore, it's a systemic design. A quiet, pervasive shift in global eating habits. But at what point does a constant sweet presence become a silent predator? At number 2, sugar's most devastating modern impact: a global health crisis. The unchecked rise in sugar consumption is directly linked to alarming rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even certain cancers. It's an epidemic. A silent killer. Our bodies, evolved for scarcity, are now overwhelmed by abundance. This isn't just a personal failing, it's a societal challenge, straining healthcare systems and diminishing quality of life worldwide. The very substance that once fueled empires now threatens to cripple entire populations. The sweet allure has become a bitter reality. But can we reverse this tide? Or are we too far gone? And finally, at number 1. The most profound impact of sugar: it became the unseen architect of our modern world. More than just a commodity, it shaped continents, drove colonialism, fueled industrialization, and ultimately rewired human biology and culture. It built empires and enslaved millions. It transformed our diets and ignited a global health crisis. Its journey, from a chewed reed to a refined crystal, is a mirror reflecting humanity's own complex desires for pleasure, for power, for progress, regardless of the cost. Sugar's story isn't over. It continues to evolve, challenging us to confront its legacy and redefine our relationship with this powerful, pervasive force. The sweet, dark truth is undeniable.